much. I would love to follow up with you guys with a conversation after this. Mr. Chairman, I know my time's expired. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Nevada, Ms. Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned earlier that I had witnessed some of this organized crime, and it was in a Walgreens, and a person came up with a backpack and just started scraping eyelashes into the backpack. Now, eyelashes aren't power tools, I'll give you that, but look around, there's certainly a market for it, and they don't sell it directly. They sell it to somebody at a swap meet who sells it, or they sell the drill to somebody who sells it on the internet. So it really is a network. And I went up to the clerk and I said, "Did you see what that guy just did?" And she said, "Yeah, he comes in here about once a week, but the companies have told us not to do anything about it because we might get hurt or the customers might get hurt." And all of us have been in stores where you now see everything is locked down and you have to call a clerk to come over and help you retrieve something. You can't just pull it off the shelf. So it's dangerous, it's inconvenient, and it's costing tax money as well as business profit. I hear these questions of what can we do to help you do your job better. And I would ask you, Mr. Kroll, to talk more about Operation Boiling Point. It seems to me it's kind of like fusion centers that we have in communities where all different kinds of law enforcement and first responders and the private sector. In my district, Las Vegas, nobody has a better eye in the sky than gaming does to try to address this. And in my bill, H.R. 895, it's a provision to house a center to combat organized retail crime within HSI. And I wonder if you might comment on how that would help us to bring information together or be one-stop shop or complement what you're doing.
Thank you very much for your longstanding efforts in this space. Understanding I can't speak to legislation that is still ongoing and hasn't been signed into law. What I can say is that we have seen a similar model used many times before, and that model is not new. Multi-agency command centers, multi-agency deconfliction centers that involve the private and public sector and law enforcement partners are certainly the best case and best model for us to continue. Operation Boiling Point 2.0 is really recognition of this threat, but also trying to take a little bit more proactive stance to identify, what partners we need to be in contact with. How do we share information with them better? But how do we gain information from possibly private sector that we don't already have, and then use that information more effectively to target these retail crime and organized theft groups? And lastly, I think, we talk about public awareness, but really this is buyer beware. The consumer needs to be the best proponent of their money and where they're buying products from. They're really the first line of defense next to our state and local partners. So I would say, certainly anything we can do to support the consumer and industry and ensure economic security, I think that's an important piece of Boiling Point 2.0.
I think the inconvenience and perhaps the danger of going into a neighborhood where you have a store that's been attacked a number of times is driving people to shop on the internet more and more. And that, of course, raises other kind of problems. But we heard that these organized groups use the money for drug trade, but also for human trafficking. Can you talk about that, Mr. Kane? Are you familiar with anybody talk about that as a connection to this?
I mean, most of the crimes that were under our purview usually don't lend itself to human trafficking. But probably more in one of my colleagues.
Okay, in either one.
Man, we do have a human trafficking program. I can't speak to any connection specifically to organized retail theft. As I mentioned earlier, criminal organizations for us are diverse, so they're always going to look for an opportunity to make money, whether that's retail theft, trafficking in persons, drugs, guns, whatever allows them the ability to make money. I haven't seen a direct correlation between the two, but really that speaks to the need for what we've been talking about collectively, which is continued collaboration, collection, sharing of intelligence, and collaboration amongst all law enforcement partners.
Gentlelady yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Crane.